Okay, I just noticed that I never showed you the video at the start of the class, which I normally do. Oops, starting now. Oops. Okay, so let me play that first before we summarize the ideas of this the small group discussion. So let me share my screen. Screen 3. Okay, that's just 3 minutes.
Hey, we're here with Noah Anderson at Andersons Barbershop to get to know more about him and his shop. You ready?
Yeah.
How'd you come up with the business name?
My last name is Anderson, so I just ran with it.
What time do you open every day?
We are open 10 to 6 Tuesday through Friday and 9 to 3 on Saturday.
3 words to describe Andersons?
Classic, relaxed, and fun.
Favorite thing about Uptown Normal?
I love the foot traffic and the culture it brings to Normal.
Favorite type of haircut?
I think my favorite type of haircut is probably the pompadour or the slick back.
Rain or snow?
I'm definitely a rain kind of guy.
What's one new thing you'd like to start trying in your shop?
I wanted to do live music on Saturdays this year.
What's your spirit animal?
Probably a jackal.
A superpower you would want?
Mind reading, but only if I could control when I was reading.
Favorite place to eat in Uptown Normal?
GB Dough is right next door, so they definitely get a lot of my business.
Coffee or tea?
I'm a coffee guy.
What's your favorite Uptown Normal event?
Probably the Sweet Corn Festival.
Where are you from?
I'm originally from the St. Louis area.
What's your favorite Uptown Normal shopping event?
Small Business Saturday.
Dogs or cats?
I've got a 3-legged dog, so I'm gonna have to go with the dogs.
Salty or sweet?
A little bit of both.
What's one of your favorite Uptown businesses?
I'm gonna give a shout out to Butter Twice Again. Like vintage clothes, check them out.
Instagram or Facebook?
Probably Instagram.
Favorite piece of advice ever given?
Live life that honors you.
What haircuts do you find the most challenging?
Probably a flat top.
Why do you enjoy cutting and styling hair?
You make people feel better, you make them look better, and they get to leave the shop like a whole new person.
Brush or comb?
Just depends what you're trying to do.
If you could switch hairstyles with any celebrity, who would it be?
George Clooney, 100%.
What's a trend you'd like to see disappear forever?
Politics on Facebook.
And what Uptown Normal business do you nominate next for the Uptown Partners profile?
Let's do Weight Room Records.
Profile station for our next one.
Thank you, guys.
That's private. What we want to do about lunch today? Getting hungry.
Okay. Close that. Right. So let's summarize. What did you come up with in the different rooms?
So when we were talking about profit resources, we talked about like their physical being the building that he got that fits his atmosphere of like old school, and also like having entertainment for people who are waiting, and just like being super social and like talkative and making people feel welcome. We think that was really important to his physical and just like his business that he wanted to create.
Sure. Yeah. Anything else?
Going off of kind of what she said, just like the environment he created. I know like in the video you kind of saw that he had like a pool table in the back. And then he also talked about how people actually just went there to hang out, even if they weren't going for a haircut. So I think that's kind of a very important aspect of his business, is just like and the like relationships he wants to build with his customers. You can tell he really cares about his customers and his business.
Absolutely, yeah. Relational, social, I'm going to start for our group. We were saying it's really about building relationships with new customers here, obviously maintaining the existing ones, but it seemed like there was potential to grow, to use his chairs that he has in the space a bit more. So that's maybe something that he should focus on. Although that can, of course, happen through encouraging your existing customers, to do word of mouth and whatnot. Is there anything that you guys had to add?
When it comes to relational, we talked about how like the neighboring businesses were really welcoming, and it sounded like they have a good environment in Uptown Normal, just like being respectful, being like supporting each other. Like he mentioned 2 other businesses in Uptown that he regularly went to and supported.
Yeah, absolutely. He goes, go next door, go across the street. So that's a really good thing. Okay. Organizational, did you have anything for that?
Darcy came up with the idea of like having it be a smooth process when going in, maybe not having to wait as long, even though it does seem like people want to be there, maybe having like making appointments, but also taking walk-ins at the same time.
Sure.
So a little more organized.
Sure. Financial. Here, my group had the idea, which I thought was actually interesting, to do some crowdfunding, to have campaigns to say, okay, we want to do something, we want to introduce, let's say, new chairs or whatever it is, and trying to get the local community to kind of pitch in, which I think is always a good idea for small businesses, because you'd be surprised how much money you can make for free, by people just wanting to pitch in. Yeah, anything else?
We just talked about how he had like reasonable pricing, especially in a college town. Like people don't want to have to pay more than $20-$30 for a haircut or a shave or whatever it was. So we think his pricing was good. And I talked about how he just moved to St. Louis, which is like a more expensive place to own a business, I feel like, than normal. So he probably did pretty well here to be able to move his business there.
I'm guessing part of it was because he wanted to be closer to his family. That's what I'm guessing. I think I read that somewhere as I was looking for, what happened, what was going on. Yeah. What about intellectual? Lydia, what did you guys talk about?
We kind of just talked about also like bringing diversity into the workplace. Just like, I don't know, maybe even hiring like, I'm trying to like word it, like female, and just like kind of bring in different clientele, stuff like that.
Yeah, one thing that was discussed last year, actually, in this case, I don't think there was, well, both times I've had the case, there was at least 1 or 2 people, who had, dreadlocks or something like that, and when it's like, well, how would he with his staff deal with that? If you don't have somebody on staff who can particularly help with different types of hairstyles, then that's a good point, of course. Yeah, that it's kind of limited in the range of what he's perhaps used to. What we were saying is, yeah, hiring either highly skilled workers who can bring in those new skills, for example, cutting hair that currently the workforce can't do, or obviously paying for training. And the last point then, technological. Did you guys have anything to add there?
They talked about at the end of the article he had a good online presence, like being able to keep up with his customers online and like update them with COVID updates as well, just like staying relevant during that time. But we also talked about how like he could be accepting of all payments, because like college kids, like Venmo and Cash App is like big. So maybe having a way to like pay for things online, doing online transactions would be something to look into.
Yeah, that's right. The more modern ways of paying, I don't think that was necessarily there. So that would be a good addition. Now for the next question, I'm going to I might skip question 5 and go straight to question 6, which is, how do actors in the task environment impact the activities of Andersons Barbershop? I'm going to share my screen briefly just to remind you of the model that we're using for that. So assuming that you've looked at the videos for this class and have read the chapter or whatever, this should look familiar to you. So these are the different environments. As a reminder, on the very outside, you've got the general environment. So this would be, let me make that a bit bigger. That would be things like general technological, advances that happen kind of like on the country level context. Okay, so if businesses are pushing cryptocurrencies and payments with cryptocurrencies, that will be a change that smaller businesses might pick up on, right? So this is not specific to the immediate surrounding, but rather the overall changes in sociocultural, the makeup of the population. People grow older, for example, political, legal, who's currently in power. It's a democratic government that may be more supportive of paying out money to small businesses. So those kind of general, forces. The task environment that this question is about is kind of in between, okay? I'm going to skip it for 1 second, so I'm going to talk about more of what it is not. It's also not the internal environment. The internal environment is the business itself. There's some overlap, okay? As you can see in some instances, there are parts of other systems, entrepreneurial ecosystem, business community, and the public that may go from both internal to task environment. But let's talk about what's here and what we're not asking about in this question. Boards of directors, a lot of businesses have at least 1 or 2 of them. The owner or founder himself, so in this case, that's Noah Anderson, employees. There can be others that are part of that internal environment. Oftentimes, if let's say Noah has a wife, a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is, that would be somebody who would likely be very involved in the business as well. Customers can be, okay, especially if you get, for example, family members to come to you. If you've got your parents coming to you, in this case, getting your haircut at your place, and social networks, of course. You could have others, supporters in general. That would be the sort of people who might do the crowdfunding support and indirectly support the business without wanting something in return. And it can be things like investors, mentors, and advisors as well, of course. Okay, so that's the internal environment. But the question is really about the task environment, so the one in between, okay? So those are the businesses and people who have a direct impact on the business without necessarily being customers or owners, i.e. without being part of that internal environment. So you've got the public here and interest groups. You've got the sort of business community. So it can be competitors in the space, it can be lenders, it can be the media as well. And then the entrepreneurial ecosystem, which would be other smaller businesses. It can be large businesses as well if they have an impact on you. Universities like ISU, it could be government agencies like the Small Business Development Agency, and then unions as well, which I don't know whether that's relevant for this particular industry. I don't know that there's a barbers union or that Anderson's employees would be part of that, but that's also part of that area. So the task environment here is what the question is asking you about. So how do actors in that environment impact the activities of Anderson's? What do you think?
I think the university would be big in this situation because there's one so close to his business. So I think whether that's like students going to get their haircut there, or whether like ISU does like maybe they do a funding thing or like partner with him to give him some advertisement. Is that what you mean?
Honestly, I wish that ISU was doing more in that regard. I don't think they are.
Yeah, I don't think they do.
I know Wesleyan is quite good actually with that sort of thing. They're supporting the local businesses and they're kind of connecting with them afterwards. We do have that mean center. So if you guys are starting a business, and some of you may, I know last year, for example, in fact, last semester, I had a student who went on to start his own business. And he then applied for funding through the accelerator program of the Mean Center and was supported, and is being funded. Or if you want to pitch an idea in the fall semester, in the spring semester now. So in the fall semester is when the pitching happens. So you could get some money that way too. In fact, everybody who applied for funding actually and was presenting their idea got some funding there. But that's about it here. But yeah, certainly the people that come with it. Who else of that group is impacting Anderson's? Tell me.
Like the business community, they talked to like foot traffic in the Uptown Normal area, just the fact that there's a lot of other businesses there.
Absolutely, yes. What else of that business community might be impacting him directly?
Competitors. There's
Sure.
somebody said there's about like 3 other barbershops really close to Anderson's.
Mhm.
And then a lot of college students will go to like Great Clips or something because it's like $12 a haircut.
Mhm. Absolutely. So the direct competitors, and then in the area, there's even more than that. If you kind of look in the 5 to 10 minutes drive area, there's so many. Absolutely. What else of that business environment may be impacting him?
To go along with competitors, I was gonna say like big name like sports clips and great clips, like those are the ones that people know. So that's where you're like, if you don't know where to go, that's where you're gonna go because that's like a familiar name, I guess.
Unless you literally walk by it, and like I've walked by it and not realized it was a barbershop when it was there. Like I literally didn't realize. So it's quite easy to overlook that. So yeah, that's a big point. Yeah. Anything else here? I would say the media, free advertisement. In this case, you just watched a video that was done by, ISU's media division. Vindet, I think, is the name of the student run newspaper outlet, and they do these business interviews. So in that case, that can be very helpful because they help raise the profile, right? And as you've seen in the video as well, he was advertising, nearby businesses, and I think they probably do the same. So that can also make a big difference there. Okay, so that's the task environment. Again, I just wanted to jog your memory with the different parts of this overall model here. So why don't we go back to the group discussions now? And the next questions that we've got here, and we'll probably just do one of them for now. What competition does Andersons face in the industry, and how is it likely to develop? You've talked about the direct competitors, but what do you think? What will that look like in the future? Will more of them, fold up here? Will anything maybe COVID related change? And actually, let's do that question 8 as well with it. How has COVID-19 changed the barbershop industry, and how well have barbers, and in this case Anderson, adapted to it? So I sent you into let me stop the sharing. I sent you into the breakout rooms.